Today's Sunday, February 5th, 2023, and I guess it's kind of interesting that this chapter ended up being on a Sunday. And the number 7, too, is very biblically important. So it's interesting that Isaiah chapter 7 is when Isaiah gives prophecy of the birth of Jesus Christ. So I'm going to read this. And it came to pass in the days of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, king of Judah, that Rezin, the king of Syria, and Pekah, the son of Remaliah, king of Israel, went up toward Jerusalem to war against it, but could not prevail against it. I get this is kind of off topic, but just some advice. If you have trouble reading um, King James version or really anything in general, some advice for names is to don't worry about it. Just try your best and just say it according to what it looks like, and to say it with confidence. And that's always going to be the best way to say it. Right? Nobody here really knows how these things were pronounced 100%. We weren't there. So just do your best. And it was told the house of David, saying, Syria is confederate with Ephraim, and his heart was moved, and the heart of his people, as the trees of the wood are moved with the wind. Some beautiful imagery there, and interesting. The word confederate. It's interesting. There's a lot of words in the Old Testament where you see that they keep being used today. I think that the word conduit gets used somewhere. Yep, look at the next one. It's an interesting word. Then said the Lord unto Isaiah, Go forth now to meet Ahaz, thou and Shearjashub thy son, at the end of the conduit of the upper pool in the highway of the fuller's field. It's just like, what was going on there? At the end of the conduit of the upper pool in the highway. They had very well established societies back then, and they were a lot more advanced than what you would think. And say unto him, Take heed and be quiet, fear not, neither be faint-hearted, for the two tails of these smoking firebrands, for the fierce anger of Rezin with Syria, and of the son of Remaliah. Because Syria, Ephraim, and the son of Remaliah have taken evil counsel against thee, saying, Let us go up against Judah, and vex it, and let us make a breach therein for us, and set a king in the midst of it, even the son of Tabiel. Thus saith the Lord God, It shall not stand, neither shall it come to pass. For the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin, and within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people. I find it very interesting how in the Old Testament, the prophecies are all generally, a lot of times, prophecies are very distant in the future. Could you imagine if people were coming up to I guess the mainstream science people have always been doing this, where they're like, oh, in the year 2030, the oceans are going to be right. They told us that if what they told us when I was growing up in high school and in college, in the beginning of college, if what they told us was true, the ocean should be so much higher level than it is now. But if I go and I visit the ocean where I grew up, it's the same place that it's always been. The ocean hasn't risen up a ton since when I was little. Uh, so what this reminds me of, though, is just how far in the future a lot of these prophecies are, is very telling that prophecy's working on that type of time scale. Oh, 65 years from now, they won't even be a people anymore. It's just interesting to me to think of. That's how a lot of the prophecy went down. Somebody would say, oh, well, in 40 something years, or could you imagine that? Like, if somebody came up and if we still had prophets around and they were prophesizing about things that far in the future. It's just the various time scales that get used there. These days, we don't often think 65 years in the future. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is Remaliah's son. If ye will not believe, surely ye shall not be established. Moreover, the Lord spake again unto Ahaz, saying, Ask thee a sign of the Lord thy God. Ask it either in the depth or in the height above. That's really interesting. Asking for signs either in the deep or up in the sky. And his response here is very, very good. You just see in the Bible, you see certain personality traits that righteous people have. And being humble and not wanting to tempt God are righteous characteristics. It's not up to us to be like, show us a sign, God. You know that attitude where a lot of people who are agnostic or atheist, they have this attitude of, well, God hasn't stepped in and personally shown me. He hasn't whispered in my ear, yeah, I'm real. So I'm not going to believe in him. It's not a not a very good attitude, and it's thinking about it completely backwards. God is above us. It's not up to him to prove himself to us. You're thinking about it completely backwards. Okay, so continuing on. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, neither will I tempt the Lord. Yeah, good choice. And he said, hear ye now, O house of David. Is it a small thing for you to weary men, but will ye weary my God also? Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Okay, so that might seem weird. Okay, why are they saying Emmanuel and not Jesus here? Well, they didn't say that they were going to name the boy Emmanuel. They said that they will call his name Emmanuel, and I do think that there's a distinction there. And it's just another theme in the Bible that people have multiple names. There's things that are titles and not names. Christ, it's not like Christ is Jesus's last name. Christ is a title. And similarly, his name will be called Emmanuel. I don't think that they're saying that when he's born that he will be given the name Emmanuel. I just think that this is one of his titles. Jesus has many titles. One of them is Emmanuel, which means God with us, which proves, is hinting at his divinity. Jesus is God in the flesh. That's why Emmanuel, God is with us, because Jesus is God and he literally was with us on earth. And I also think it's really interesting. The word Emmanuel sounds like I'm in you all. I'm in you all, Emmanuel. I don't think that that's random, that it sounds the same. Okay. So there you go. That's the Old Testament proof that Jesus Christ would come and save us. Butter and honey shall he eat, that he may know to refuse the evil and choose the good. For before the child shall know to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land that thou abhorrest shall be forsaken of both her kings. The Lord shall bring upon thee, and upon thy people, and upon thy father's house, days that have not come, from the day that Ephraim departed from Judah, even the king of Assyria. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall hiss for the fly that is in the uttermost part of the rivers of Egypt, and for the bee that is in the land of Assyria. Somebody, I mean a troll, obviously, a shill, left a comment like, God doesn't hiss. What? This is just more proof that there's power in words and sound waves, and God can make things happen with sound and with his word. So God can hiss? Why wouldn't God be able to hiss? I don't understand that. Okay. I mean, obviously, it was a troll comment, but continuing on. And they shall come and shall rest all of them in the desolate valleys, and in the holes of the rocks, and upon all thorns, and upon all bushes. It is very interesting that there do seem to be a lot of strange settlements that were built into holes and rocks. A lot of what they tell us are Native American lands in USA have hole and rock dwelling places. In the same day shall the Lord shave with a razor that is hired, namely, by them beyond the river, by the king of Assyria, the head and the hair of the feet, and it shall also consume the beard. And it shall come to pass in that day that a man shall nourish a young cow and 2 sheep. And it shall come to pass for the abundance of milk that they shall give he shall eat butter. That's an interesting sentence. For the abundance of milk that they shall give, he shall eat butter. There we go. For butter and honey shall every one eat that is left in the land. And it shall come to pass in that day, that every place shall be, where there were 1,000 vines at 1,000 silverlings, it shall even be for briars and thorns. With arrows and with bows shall men come thither, because all the land shall become briars and thorns. And on all hills that shall be digged with the mattock, there shall not come thither the fear of briars and thorns, but it shall be for the sending forth of oxen, and for the treading of lesser cattle. Okay, a lot of stuff going on there at the end. Some prophecies. We know that there's lands of milk and honey. I think personally that the Americas, specifically North America, is the land of milk and honey talked about in the Bible. That's just my personal opinion. The mattock thing is interesting. Talking about hills be digged with the mattock, because it's like an excavation tool. This is what a mattock is. Excavating the old hills. So, interesting chapter from Isaiah, and it foretells of Jesus Christ. Right there. Where is it? Verse 14, 7:14, and 14 is a multiple of 7 too. It's 2 sevens, so it's like a 777 verse. The verse that talks about Emmanuel is 777. It's Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14, but 14 is a double 7. 777 is like a huge. You see all sorts of people talking about angel numbers or whatever. I don't prescribe to angel number BS, but I know that people treat 777 as like the antithesis to 666. So it's very interesting that it's a 777 verse, or 714, that talks about Jesus coming. Hope you enjoyed the video. God bless everyone.